So let's have a look at the IT services supply chain by way of an example mobile banking app. This is actually based on a real application that I've discussed with one of the people that I've worked with. The idea is that the mobile app draws from data and really lives in a wider ecosystem, part of which is in the cloud and part of which is in the enterprise. The focal point here is the customer mobile where the app lives. And that app takes data from a cloud database somewhere, and I'm ignoring the processing bit that goes around it. And on the other end, it takes data or works with a company database that is connected through an API gateway and a couple of other things. I'm simplifying here, but this is the general idea. On the cloud side, you could have somewhat public data, such as stock information, and on the company side, you would have your, let's say, account information for the specific customer. This is not even the full story, because that app on the mobile actually comes from an app store. And what we see here is that you have all the actors and they're spread out over multiple locations, organizations, what have you. The app store is different from the provider of the cloud database, and even company internal, there will be a couple of silos responsible for all the various components. The company database is the responsibility of one unit. The API gateway is probably run by a different team, than the reverse proxy. Now, once you have this picture and you've clearly separated out the various organizations that are responsible, you can have a better look at who's responsible for what and how you could see the risks. For example, how would you attack this as a hacker? You could have a look, you could go for the individual customer mobile, you could have a look at the cloud database or even company internal, but maybe the app store in itself would be even more interesting. If you can sort of poison the app, then you have access to a lot of customers at one go. So that's the whole point of this story. And now you can start asking yourselves questions. Okay, who owns which piece of this entire hybrid architecture? Who controls it? For example, the App Store is owned by, let's say, Apple or Google or whatever, but the specific app should be controlled by the bank's developers in this case. Other questions, which of these are cloud services? Well, that's the top, that's half, that's easy. Which could be cloud services? Well, fill in the details. Where is sensitive data? For each of these blobs, you can have a look at what is the sensitive data that's in there and how is the data being controlled? How is access to that data being controlled? And what we did in the exercise a couple of months ago was actually go over all those pieces and list and rank the data and see how that access to that data was controlled. You can think of other risks such as integrity risks, availability risks, and again for each of these you can think, hey, how is this protected? So that's the idea. Now, realistic cloud applications may be simpler or more complicated than this, and if you drill into the details you'll see that there are more components, but high level this is the idea. Every application these days is dependent on a complete ecosystem of multiple providing parties, and that is in essence the IT supply chain.